Hey, everybody. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy Hanukkah. I've made a video like this before. In fact, I've talked about this, let's see, one time, two times, three times, four times. But I'm making this video for a very specific reason. It hasn't been talked about enough. And not only that, the last time I gave a presentation on it, the Coliseum, no other news organization picked it up. Now, that's in spite of the fact that Rebecca Kaplan introduced a resolution and gave a lot of indication that, you know what, this is a thing. But when I make an item, when I talk about something, I notice the so-called mainstream media doesn't cover it. So I just decided, hey, you know what, let me check this out one day and see what the search landscape looks like, right? And just by typing Oakland Coliseum in EIFD, Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, right? I thought, what does it look like? And this is what it looks like right here. Take a look at this. Let me show you the results of a quick search using Oakland Coliseum Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, EIFD. That's the result. And what is at the top of the result but my article on zinniareport.com, how to create an Oakland Coliseum JPA EIFD, right? Nobody else. No one joined in. And I'm not complaining. I'm quite happy because that means that, hey, if you click on this, that ad revenue goes to me, babe. It's even over the city of Oakland's frequently asked questions about the waterfront because it doesn't really, that page deals specifically with EIFD. And the questions don't even line up. For example, what will happen to Oakland Coliseum? What food is a Coliseum known for? That sort of thing. And here's my other video from 1 month ago toward Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District for Oakland Coliseum JPA and Oakland Business from 1 month ago. And this is the second, the one that was supposed to be before this one. So I decided to just sort of clear out the inventory, right? And then here's another, an Oakland Coliseum JPA EIFD to finance future development. Again, at zinniareport.com. Then we have the Chronicle. Oakland Coliseum site seen as potential second downtown. That was September 15th, 2023. That's the last time the Chronicle touched the matter. And then there's the Real Deal, right? And there's Oakland side from the year before that. And guess what? There's me again. Process toward Oakland Coliseum JPA EIFD. Retail and leisure. Oakland Coliseum site can be transferred, okay? Future for Oakland Coliseum site. So my point is, I decided I'm simply going to rule this category because for all practical purposes, I already ruled it. And I figured, why not, right? Hey, Seuss, how you doing? He says, A's ownership is taking the brand and bought Coliseum site to not allow any expansion there. I'll get to that in a second. I want to talk about this first. Now, here is what Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District is, all right? And in fact, I'm not going to deal with that subject because I have my subject. Sorry, Jesus. So at any rate, and Merry Christmas, by the way, but this is very important. What is Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District? It's the modern variant of the old California redevelopment law program that was established in 1947 and lasted until 2011 when Jerry Brown killed it. But what did it do? All right. It said that, hey, if you, like, let's say Jesus here, Merry Christmas, Jesus. I think I'll use you as an example. Let's say Jesus is concerned about an area in Oakland. He says that area is blighted, right? So he goes to the city council, says, I think we need a redevelopment area. The city council has a discussion and then a hearing and then a resolution and they vote for it. And so then that redevelopment area idea becomes what's called a survey area where they gather all the data to say to the state, oh, yes, this really is truly blighted. And then the Board of Equalization state says, oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. and then it gets approved. Okay, and so what does it do? It says all of the property tax that's in that area, all the property tax that's in that area gets captured by then what was called a redevelopment agency, and the redevelopment agency would take that property tax money using a way of collection and calculation called tax increment financing, and then float bonds against it. Now you would say, what's tax increment financing? I've heard about this and I still don't understand what it is. And it's really simple. I'll tell you, Jesus, it's really simple. You have your first year, which is called your base year, and that's your base year assessed value. And then the next year, you get the assessed value for that year, take that minus the base year, and the difference is called the increment, and you multiply that increment times the tax rate. So that result is your tax increment revenue for year one. You want to get it for year two? Go to year two for the same area, same designated area. Calculate the assessed value, subtract that from the base year. That difference for year two is multiply, that increment is multiplied times the tax rate to get the tax increment revenue. Boom. So that's year two. You keep doing that for a 45-year period. That's how long the zone can last. Or actually, it used to be 35 years. Now it's 45 years. But that's how long it lasts. And it's powerful because if you think about what I just told you, tax increment financing is a cool doubling formula. It's better, and keep this in mind, tax increment financing is far better than standard increment financing. And that's what reporters don't even begin to think of. Like, for example, the Chronicle had these reporters writing about it, and they were trying to say that increment financing or industrial development financing was the same as tax increment financing, and it's not. All industrial development financing, or IDF, is taking the tax that the project throws off and just collecting it each year to one organization. All right. There's no formula that goes with it, like, hey, take the base year and take the current year and subtract the base year, right? For tax increment financing. But if you do it the way that tax increment financing lays out, what you get is a representation of how the value of the land, the redeveloped land, is growing over the term. And the more you build, the larger the increment. Now, here's a little trick. In a number of states, California and New York come to mind, the counties can actually raise the assessed value by up to, in our case in Alameda County, up to 2%. But in New York, it's 6%. Right. So you don't have to develop anything. The land itself can simply be moved forward in value by, in New York case, 6%, or in Alameda County case, or in California County's case, 2% every year. It's really like printing money. Now, a general rule of thumb I've always followed is that, first of all, in the way Proposition 13 works, every time property is sold, it is recalculated to the value that it held when it was bought, the market value. Now, I estimate about 5% of the total property in any area is turned over, as they say, annually. Okay, so that's a good rule of thumb. So when you're trying to figure it out. So the bottom line is, it's a great way to get money for your project in an area. The bigger the area, the bigger the base year of assessed value, the bigger the tax increment revenue will be, period. Now, in the old days of redevelopment, there were specific rules that prohibited you from targeting your desired rate of, or your desired tax increment revenue. Why they did this, I don't know, but they did. And it was really a response to the fact that a lot of cities were really, what they were doing was they would say, hey, we want this area with this skyscraper and all these expensive homes to be part of our redevelopment area. And we use that to pay for affordable housing, right? And some of the property owners got pissed off. Now, why they got pissed off is, well, for reasons of racism and all that sort of thing. But they did get pissed off, even though, in point of fact, there is no, there's actually a better value impact if your property is in a redevelopment area than not, because it means that that property tax money that's collected is going to be used for the area around your property. Maybe even they have a code enforcement program that helps your property gain in value, right? So there was no logical reason to go against it, but we're people, we're human beings. You get it, okay? So that was the idea. But what happened was that you say, okay, so why did it die? Tax increment financing literally gave birth to downtown Oakland. If you've ever been to Oakland City Center, that's there because of tax increment financing. Coliseum redevelopment area, the largest redevelopment area in California, almost 7,000 acres, extending from 66th Avenue all the way down to 98th, and then over to International Boulevard to the east, and then a kind of a zigzaggerate kind of boundary that touches up on the Oakland Airport and the estuary and the ship channel over there. So that was the largest one, and I was hired by the city of Oakland to be a redevelopment intern in 1987, and the year I graduated from school at grad school. And my job was to gather data for the Coliseum redevelopment survey area, and that lasted until from when I was hired, which was 1987, as I said, to 1995, when it became approved to actually become a redevelopment area, the Coliseum redevelopment area. So you would say, okay, what else was it used for? Well, we've used tax increment financing for everything from road realignment to removing crack houses in East Oakland, according to now Coliseum JPA Executive Director Henry Gardner, to financing Head Start programs, to a number of uses. The biggest one, not talked about, was that Oakland elected officials dipped into the tax increment revenue till for downtown in a sly way, because every time they looked at it this way, every time they worked on a project, right, or when they're staffers, they had a redevelopment fund they dip into when they were declaring overtime. So now we don't have that. I'm telling you, if we had a healthy tax increment financing program today using enhanced infrastructure financing districts legislation, right, we would have enough money to help get us out of the fiscal shortfalls that we've dealt with. You heard what I said, because that's what we used to do. That's what we used to do. Okay. So I'll come to those comments in a second. So, but the bottom line is, you would say, why did it all die? Okay. Jerry Brown did two things. First of all, he established the 10K program, which is to build 10,000 units of housing. I worked on that program on behalf of the mayor. I had a developer symposium in my office. Saturday, I want to say February 26th, year 1999. And because Jerry Brown, that was Jerry's first full year in office. And the whole point is that Jerry, it was a brilliant idea. He said, hey, look, we have all these parking lots, holes. Have the developers develop here. We need market rate housing. And the real story was that Jerry, as it turned out later, hated affordable housing. He hated it, okay? But redevelopment law then said you had to build affordable housing. You had to spend 20% of your tax increment revenue on affordable housing. So Jerry was stuck, but it was great for the housers. And that really built up a number of structures that are in downtown Oakland today over time. Actually, a whole plan really got going into Jerry Brown's second term and then beyond that. But what happened was that Jerry left, became attorney general, then governor for the second time in his life. And he turned around and immediately killed redevelopment with the idea that if it was killed, the state would save $1 billion. I said before he did that, that wasn't true. There was a lawsuit filed against the state. It was a big mess, and for obvious reasons. I'm telling you today, if Jerry had not killed redevelopment, we would not have in California the homeless problem we have today. You hear what I'm saying? We would not have it. All right. So anyway, point I'm making is that tax increment financing was killed in 2011 by Jerry Brown. It was such a hue and cry that Jim Bealle out of San Jose came up with something called enhanced infrastructure financing districts, essentially a new type of redevelopment district. California Governor Jerry Brown signed the legislation into law September 15th of 2014, and this new era of redevelopment, really of tax increment financing, was born. Unfortunately, it's not used anywhere near original way, the degree to which redevelopment was, and that really needs to change. The state has done a lousy job of marketing the program, but it's upon us. And so it came upon us right as the city of Oakland was trying to build a new Raiders stadium, but the city wasn't paying attention to legislation and didn't even bother using it. It never came up. Libby became the mayor in 2014. I came up with an idea. I wasn't aware of the legislation at the time. I was playing around with industrial development bond financing, which I still could use, right? And my idea called, if you want to see what I'm talking about, just go to type Coliseum Reboot, Oakland Coliseum Reboot in Google. My website is still alive, right at the top result. So it's here is what I want to show you right now, though, is I want to show you what a map of the Coliseum area looks like. This is it, all right? And what you're looking at is, I'm going to go down here a bit, okay? And see if it'll let me go down a bit. There we go, all right? Obviously, that's the arena in the Coliseum. You go as far north here as what's called the East Bay Slough, okay? And you see it comes in this inlet right here, right? So my idea was to have an enhanced infrastructure financing district area that goes from East Bay Slough, come in, and right at San Leandro Street, which is here, and then it goes down San Leandro, all right, street, to see that goes up here, and it goes down San Leandro to 98th, which is here, all right. Well, it's not okay, which is here, and then it comes in along, and then the boundary goes along here to along where this is San Leandro Ship Channel, and then it goes up to where the East Bay Slough begins, and then it comes in again. All right. So if you can see that, all right, right. That area covers it, but it's actually right here. Oh, excuse me, right here. It's this little inlet, this little cut. So if you imagine this, it's this big, all right, that big. That's how big it would be. Now that encompasses $1 billion worth of base year assessed value. The Coliseum is at its center. Well, not exactly the center, but you get the idea. But I wanted to include all of the industrial area here, and Hagenberger and the hotel district too. So we would have enough money, $400 million. I estimate $808 million in a bond issue could be let from the revenue derived. That bond issue would have a total bond cost about $1.2 billion, all right, against $1.6 billion in total revenue from the project, assuming a 4% rate of growth in assessed value over a 45-year period. And that's the basic idea. Now, that's basic. All right, that's the base. That's the base area size. That's the base size, and the idea. Let me see if I can change how it looks here from to this. See, there you go. All right, and then we can move in a little bit closer, and you get a better idea of what I'm staring at here. Okay, what we're looking at. That's the Coliseum area. I want to just zoom in a bit here. Let me move that up. Oh yeah, there it is. Thank you. Okay. Log on plus sign. All right. And then move that over here. And then put that back like that. All right. And then move this back over here like that. Look at how big this area is among all the other land areas in Oakland. Look how large it is. Now, if you were the Oakland Athletics, given the fact that that sticks out like a sore thumb, wouldn't you want to hold on to it even if you're moving to Las Vegas? Of course you would. They are not going to give that up anytime soon. Develop it, sure, but give it up to somebody else? Unless that person's willing to pay a pretty penny, and right now, they're not. So no, this is a land deal for John Fisher and company. It's not, oh, they owe $45 million or anything. No, they intend and do own 50% of it. AASCG, the African American Sports and Entertainment Group, as you know, is in an exclusive negotiating agreement to own the other part. They've got some problems there, okay? They've got some problems. As Scott just wrote here, there's too much potential on that site. Absolutely right, Scott. Too much potential. And so my point is, let's create an enhanced infrastructure financing district of this, and then fashion a plan that involves the athletics and AESCG to redevelop this, and stop talking about a future that would kill the JPA. This needs to be a stadium district. We need to start rebuilding our stadium presence right now, because too many, and I say this, too many cities around the world have stadium districts. Lansing, Michigan. You're saying, what? Where? Yeah, Lansing, Michigan has a stadium district. Yeah. Atlanta, stadium district. Virginia, working on a stadium district. Seattle, stadium district. The list goes on and on and on. We have arguably the first stadium district. If you think about the unique combination of the arena and the stadium, we've taken it for granted. And right now we take for granted the fact that we have this, and we don't do anything to redevelop it, to go after a team. We say, oh, hey, I think the mayor said she was working on it, but she always says that. She never wants to have you with the idea she's not doing something, even if she isn't doing anything. But that's where we've come to today, folks, right? This kind of, oh, I'm going to make you think I'm doing something when I'm not. We have to stop that. I'm really, really pleased as punch that my friend, at-large council member Rebecca Kaplan, advanced enhanced infrastructure financing district legislation so that it has a great shot of being adopted, and she's continuously pushing for it. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for listening. It's not the first time she's listening. Rebecca's a great friend and a great caretaker of the city of Oakland and a great council member. So, but we have to get to the point we start advancing this effort to create the enhanced infrastructure financing district. We need to have people talking about what you can do with the money that comes out of it. not just funding affordable housing. You don't pay for the whole thing. You gap finance the amount between what it needs to build and yet have affordable units and not. That's called gap financing. You don't have anybody pay for the whole thing. That's ridiculous. The developer can figure that out. That this helps the developer finance the project and yet have affordable housing. And on top of all that, we can spend that money for programs that help businesses recover from the pandemic. That is how the AB464 Mullin legislation signed early January 21st, 2021, if memory serves, into law by California Governor Gavin Newsom works. All right. That's how it works. Now, let me get to your comments here and questions regarding this and everything. Okay. Jesus says A's ownership is taking the brand and bought Coliseum site to not allow any expansion there. No, that's not the idea, is to not allow expansion there. And the original idea, yeah, they wanted to tear down the stadium, but I believe they were land banking it to sell it to somebody else. They weren't just going to let that be a park. I thought that was a ruse to begin with. At first, I thought they were going to use those sales to help finance the ballpark, but then I started working on the ballpark calculations, and I thought, you know what, they've got enough money that will be produced from the ballpark itself to pay for itself over a 40-year period so that they don't need to do that. So no, this is a matter of land banking because Libby let her do it. That was Libby's idea. So he says, I'm good. Merry Christmas. Scott says, I was really hoping the A's would redevelop Howard Terminal. Me too. Oh boy, but Howard Terminal, I just have to say it, and I'll say it again. Howard Terminal was not well represented. The city did not give a project manager in there that understood tax increment financing, and it was too clubby. And Libby made it the woman's club. I'm going to prove that all the people who can do this are women. Take a look. That's what she was doing. Her press conferences were that way. Libby was using this to make a political point, not get a project done. And you're looking at the guy that when Mark Davis said, come up with a stadium plan for me in 2015, and I came up with a spreadsheet design. I came up with a napkin design that someone maybe called it that, at least, which is now the Coliseum reboot, Oakland Coliseum reboot, that you can find here online. I then, as I was working on it, I gave the whole kit and caboodle to Mayor Schaaf. She did nothing with it. I got Mayor Schaaf, Diane Pawe, who was then the most well-known, highly regarded female sports facilities investment banker in the entire world. I cold called Diane, talked to her for 45 minutes, got her to put a 6-person deal team on the project. They evaluated my spreadsheet, gave it the thumbs up, wanted to know the next steps, wanted to know if the county would be used as a backstop. I said, that's not my call. I did all of that. I had a meeting with Rebecca and Scott McKibben. They gave their approval of what I was doing and the spreadsheet. We were all on our way, and Libby did absolutely bupkis, okay? Bupkis. So when I say, and my comment about Libby, window dressing and just trying to prove that women can get it done, look, my first company, 8 women I hired, all right, for sports business simulations. And we create a fantastic online educational product. So that's not my issue. I've been there. I've done that. And I've got that t-shirt. But that was my company, okay? This is about getting a sports facility built. So if you want to do it the right way, you say, hey, look, Diane Pawe did the financing for the St. Louis ballpark, all right? And she's the one you call. You want to make political points, great, but no one can assail her resume, all right? But Libby brought people on who had no resume. Claudia Capio, think about the Raiders, she had no experience with the NFL. Eric Grubman, who was then the NFL's head of business affairs, and he was the stadium point person, said very politely that she needed to be brought up to speed. And then when it came to the matter of the athletics and Howard Terminal, they had Molly Mabern was the project manager, but you couldn't tell who was the project manager. Was it Assistant City Administrator Betsy Lake or Molly Mabern? And then Molly Mabern had no experience in redevelopment tax increment financing, none. And then her first press conference presentation I captured and is here at Zinni 62 YouTube was awful. She started off by telling you she was in Hawaii on vacation with her kids and basically sucks to be you. Now, does anybody start a presentation off like that in their bedroom? Okay, in their hotel room. All right, seriously, this is all in their hotel room. She could have got a business office in the hotel. She didn't have to tell anybody she was in Hawaii. Who cares? Just get the presentation done. But no. And then I even said to Nate Miley, hey, Nate, what is going on with Ms. Mabern and her presentation? And he said, yeah, but she's really nice. I said, seriously? Okay, sorry, Nate. That's true. You did say that, all right? And I'm still chafing about that because we got crap from that whole thing, man. All right? All right? So I'm telling it like it is. And Libby does this or did this. She would put this group out there and then dare you to say something like, oh, you're against women, that sort of thing. No. That's why I say I've got that t-shirt. I know what it's like to go out and get the best people to do something who happen to be woman, African American, anything else. But you get the best. You don't let anybody assail what you're doing because you didn't get the best. Libby didn't do that. She didn't get the best. And that's why I say, look, you know what? Put me in charge. I'm the best. I'll do it. I know who the best are. I can get you the best. Okay? So, but Libby just messed it up. And then guess what? Our current mayor doubled down on it. Shang Tao takes what? Her chief of staff and her communications person, and then Ms. Mabern, who really wasn't even working for the city of Oakland. Did you know that? They lied about her situation. Took her to the Major League Baseball All-Star game to meet Bob Manfred. That's not how you do it. You take the people who have enough juice to get it done. You don't take your eye candy, because that's how they look. For attractive businesswomen in suits, that's how they presented themselves. That's the kind of photograph they took. And once again, there's this, I dare you to say anything. I dare you to point it out. I double dare you. I double dare you. Well, I'm pointing it out, okay? It was wrong to treat the commissioner that way. You take you bring your assistant city administrator, the governor, if you can get the governor. It's labels and titles. You send the message that these are the powerful people that can get it done. And then you fill in the blanks regarding gender and ethnicity and race, because there are enough brilliant people of all stripes in the Bay Area, and particularly in Oakland, where you can assemble that team. Libby didn't do it, and Shang didn't do it, and that's a big reason why we failed. All right, so as this gets to what you're talking about, all right. And like I said, I'll put my bona fides up against the two of them any single day, because the people that I've gotten to work on projects have been the best. Downtown Coalition, doesn't matter. I'm talking about in the Oakland context when I've been involved, all right? Nobody tops me, period. All right. Scott says, but as a backup, they had the Coliseum site. I just don't understand why they didn't see the Coliseum property as a good candidate for redevelopment, especially now that AASEG wants to build a bunch. The problem is sea level rise. As Dave Cobble said to me in 2017 when I met him at his inaugural press conference, he said, I have to build a $400 million table, that's how he called it, to lift the area up. And that concerned him. Now, Howard Terminal represented a smaller table and an attractive site that had already been tried by Let's Go Oakland and was put on as one of the possible sites for a ballpark as far back as the turn of the 21st century. So that's how Howard Terminal came to be. But what happened was that the real number one candidate was the urban scene that was the Uptown ballpark. The trouble is that Jerry Brown decided he didn't want Forest City to do that. I brought Forest City. You're looking at the guy. Look at this. Okay, listen to me. You're looking at the guy who brought Forest City to Oakland. I'm the guy that did it. 1998. ICSC is International Council of Shopping Centers Spring Convention in Las Vegas. I gave a presentation after cold calling. It all started when I cold called Robert A.M. Stern of Robert A.M. Stern Architects. Yes, the Robert A.M. Stern. Introduced myself as the mayor's economic advisor. Told him that we were in the middle of redeveloping Uptown. I was very impressed with what he had done with Times Square in New York, and I believe that we had a great candidate in what used to be the theater district of Oakland. Okay, so he dispatched. We talked for 35 minutes. Mr. Stern dispatched Paul Whalen, one of his key architects, to visit us. Paul actually was written up too in the East Bay Express, I think, and yeah, he was. And so we got coverage for what we were trying to do. Unfortunately, it came down to a $100,000 payment we were to make Robert A.M. Stern. What they were going to do with that was kick ass. It was a design build competition along the lines of the kind of design build competition that led to the development of the Harold Washington Library complex. Basically, we'll have a block of money, 120 million that paid for with redevelopment money, and that chunk will be available to each developer team, and each developer team would be teamed with one organization, Forest City. So Forest City sort of had they were the judge of the beauty contest, all right, as well as the public. And we would have these models all in Oakland City Hall for the public to vote on. That was the idea. It would give great visibility to the redevelopment Uptown. And what we were going to do was recreate everything, all the way down to signage for it, the whole area of Uptown, and design standards and sidewalk standards, okay? We were going to rebuild the theater district of Oakland. That was the concept. Now, how you wanted to do that was the whole idea for the competition, because you had the Fox Theater and the Paramount, right? So there's a lot that you could do within that triangle. So, but Elihu didn't want to pay the mayor, my boss, didn't want to pay Robert A.M. Stern Architects $100,000. That's what happened. So, and so the project I worked so hard on went for that reason. Now, if I had to do it all over again and I was able to reverse time, I would say, hey, look, why don't we get, instead of the city paying it, why not pass the hat to the development community, and they'll have the economic development, John, forgot John's last name. He was the economic development head for the Chamber of Commerce, help us raise the money to pay for it. So in retrospect, I would have done it that way. But I thought 100,000 was a drop in the bucket for us. Really, it was. But I'm telling you, had Elihu ignited that, downtown Oakland will be monstrously different than it is today. Monstrously different. Just saying. Okay. And anyway, he says, cool stuff. Thanks. So much potential. Yep. And Hopper says, I wish everyone a safe and pleasant holiday season. All the best. Happy holidays. And where's Howard Terminal? Howard Terminal is, wow, you don't know how Howard Terminal is? Let me show you. All right. Let me go back to my trusty map here, and I will show you where Howard Terminal is. Okay. First, this is the Coliseum, right? Okay. So let's just go out and expand out like this. All right. Howard Terminal, that's Oakland Arena, right? Howard Terminal is all the way over here. Okay. So let's go over here. Then let's go down. All right. Over here. Keep going. All right. A little bit more. Okay. Howard Terminal. See where that is? Okay. Howard Terminal. See it says Howard Terminal right there? See that? That's Howard Terminal. All right. So if you want to see, okay, that's Howard Terminal. Let's try to see if I can keep that open there. Yeah. All right. And then let me expand out like that. That's Howard Terminal versus the Coliseum, which is down there. All right. Okay. So there you are. I hope that answers it. See that? Okay. So there you go. So he says, was Oakland Coliseum site in the 50s and 60s very large? Was it very large open space? Well, it is, as you see, it is. It was parking. It was 1966, not the 50s. In the 50s, there was the Philadelphia Athletics, not the Oakland Athletics. Homer says, you never pay too much to the best and always pay too much for anyone who isn't the best. Yep. And he says, I think that's all we've got there. Yeah, right. Okay, so yeah, so there it is. So there is, does anybody have any other questions? There's 13 of you. Hi. Everybody's, hopefully you're ready for Christmas. Did I miss anything? I guess I did not. Let me go back up. No, okay, that's it. All right. So that's the presentation, folks. That's the idea. That's enhanced infrastructure financing district legislation. Now, there are a number of schemes, if you will, that have been formed along the lines of that. Oh, Mr. Victor Fuentes says, I agree with you about the last two Oakland mayors dropping the ball and taking professional sports leagues seriously. How do we fix it? Well, this is how we fix it. You fix it by doing the little things, by establishing an enhanced infrastructure financing district. That's how you fix it. And within that, what's called a public financing authority. All right? That's how you fix it. The public financing authority governs the district. The JPA's representatives can sit on the authority. They can be that organization. You fix it by building an organization that can actually do the development work. That's how you fix it. Because it, by law, has to have an infrastructure financing plan, which will lay out bond issues, bond sizing, expenditures, the whole 9 yards, necessary grants, everything else. All right. Jesus says, horrible developers on the Oakland Coliseum A's could have had a Field site or Fenway. I don't understand what you're saying there. So I'm not going to agree with something I don't quite understand. What do you mean by that? They weren't moving to Chicago. But if you're saying that, oh, you're saying they could have had a downtown ballpark. Yeah. Jerry Brown killed that. Jerry Brown killed that on the 12th of May of 2002 at 12:32 in the afternoon. He got on a conference call and said there's not going to be a fucking downtown ballpark as long as I'm mayor. That's what Jerry said. Okay? Jerry had this thing about, oh, I'm not into sports. And because people wanted to follow this, charismatic elected official, they ran around talking about how they weren't into sports either. It was really crazy, folks. All right. It was really a lousy time in Oakland from the perspective of people forgetting what made Oakland. And I'm thinking, well, gee, didn't sports benefit a lot of people who look like me? Right? Okay. So why was he so against sports? What was the deal? See, Jerry didn't know how to look at the situation. He didn't see that it was really facilities that gather thousands of people, many thousands of people that are key to your urban tourism effort. That escaped him, which is why he didn't understand when I was working on the Super Bowl until my efforts started getting worldwide press, and then it was like, press, he's getting press. I need to be in it. Let me latch on the Zinni star. Seriously, okay? And then it was like, let me fire Zinni. Let me figure out a way to get rid of Zinni and take his place. You know who told me that? The NFL did. All right. So, hey, and folks who hear this and don't like it, it's true. All right. It's sad and it's true. And I'm not going to shut up about it either. Do you think the mayor will fix it? No. Well, let me take that back. If the mayor listens to me, I don't care how Shang does it. If she wants to not or pretend like she's not paying attention to me and listen to Rebecca, who's really helping advance along my idea and my push for this, great. I don't care how Shang does it, as long as she does it. So do I think there's a possibility? Yeah. Because if she didn't like what was happening, she would have said something about it and figured out a way to short circuit it by now. That hasn't happened. And I know she wants it because she privately met with me about enhanced infrastructure financing districts on the 2nd of February of 2002 when she was running for mayor and was council member. But she wanted to be a secret meeting and didn't want anybody to know about it, okay? And then refused and then gave me homework but didn't want to pay me, which is weird. It was, hire me as a consultant. She said he had a consultant. Okay. And then turns around, gets on the campaign trail, says, I'm going to do EIFD. I'm going to use EIFD. It just was, she was using that. She was eating popcorn at a movie theater. EIFD, EIFD. Has she done anything since then? She became mayor. Diddly squat. Nothing. All right. Nothing. So there's, you'd say she just gotten in there. Maybe this is it. Fingers crossed. Okay. Well, in 1950s and 60s, Oakland could have had a Wrigley Field or Fenway Stadium. No, I didn't say that. That's where that's coming from. No, I'm talking about what was done, what we did with Robert A.M. Stern in developing a ballpark at Uptown that Jerry Brown killed. That's more important. Okay. It says, did Oakland people in power from 1900 to 1950 think of Wrigley? Jesus, I really think you're just sort of just fucking around. I have to be honest with you, because that's going nowhere. Ask a question that's current and don't screw around. You screw around, I'll boot you. I don't have time. Okay? I do not have time. So getting back to my point, that is in Fuentes says, that's terrible. See, they didn't want to pay you for your help. I hope they take your ideas seriously. Well, look, that's why I started a media company. So, for example, this video is monetized, right? I can talk about this and make money from it. I have it on record. So even if they don't, no one can say I didn't tell them. This stuff lasts for a while. All right, there's a method to my madness here. So everybody can say, oh, they don't pay attention to you. Well, you're watching. All right. I'm making money from this. Got sponsors. All right. There's going to be an ad next to this. I think I, monetized it. Yeah. So, hey, I win either way. I win either way. All right. I figured that out a long time ago. I win. So, so they can be however they want to be. That's Oakland. As Too Short would say, that's Oakland, baby. All right. Fine. But I'm Zinni in Oakland. Beyond me, all right. And I did this differently than Steve Lowe and Frank Dobson, the late Frank Dobson, and the late Bob Lesty. He's a great friend of mine. All great friends. Steve Haven't heard from Steve. He's has some health challenges. He's 83. I gotta call him tomorrow. They were the creators of Coliseum City. All right. So if you ever have a chance, I want you to go here. I want you to go to Google, go to YouTube. All right. There's YouTube. And I want you to type Coliseum City origin. Like that. And who do you get? That's Bob. That's Bob. Right here. You would say who? Because you can't see him, right? Yeah. Bob Lesty. Still know his daughter Lynn. We went to Skyline. All right. But I want you to watch that because Bob Lesty introduced the idea. He introduced the idea for Coliseum City. Just click on that. All right. And let me click on past this. That's Chris DeBenedetti. Oops. Hold on a second. There. Okay. That's Chris DeBenedetti there talking.
Question you asked, keep that with that in mind, because again, we could talk for hours. We want to talk about things that we can recommend to the mayor and things that are attainable.
He was the chairperson of the Sports and Entertainment Task Force for then Oakland Mayor Ron Dellum. This is 2009. He invited me to be on that task force along with Chuck Johnson and a number of other people.
Things that are realistic, you definitely want to brainstorm, but keep that in mind. As I said, number 2, the Coliseum site is the best site.
Now, Steve Lowe is the gray-haired fellow in the picture.
That's and then number 3, we decided, and the mayor, we applauded him for that letter to Bud Seeley, and it was a very visible, almost aggressive thing to do. We want him to be even more visible, more persistent, more aggressive, working with Council President Bruner and the rest of the City Council. Now, those were the highlights of the report, but you'll see it when I email it to you guys if you haven't seen it already. With no further ado, Bob Lesty is here to give us the presentation. So, Bob, if you could tell us a little bit briefly about yourself and dive right in. And we'll try it around the computer as well.
So I'll stop it there because it's long. It's 25 minutes, but please watch it. All right. And Bob has been gone from us now for, I believe, 4 years. A big loss. If you ever go to MacArthur Boulevard, where MacArthur and Boulevard and Broadway meet, is the MacArthur Broadway, was the MacArthur Broadway shopping center. Now it's Kaiser, but they redeveloped it. But my point is that he developed that area, all right, among other things. So, all right. He says, "You the man. I hope Oakland wakes up and fixes its mistakes." Thank you. I do too. We can do it now. That's what bothers me about this. There's no reason why we can't schedule and get and approve the enhanced infrastructure financing district for the Coliseum. Get that done by February and March, or ideally March, and establish a sports commission, and then begin an effort of getting sports events in Oakland, and then a new development for a new Coliseum city, Coliseum with apartments, with condominiums, with offices and research and development and recreation, and a NFL ready stadium. And why not a ballpark, a Major League Baseball ready ballpark that could be minor league ballpark, right? In other words, build these things on spec. state of the art, beyond state of the art, architectural wonders. I guarantee you, if we build this and built the infrastructure to market the city and then find the right organizations to come in, we will have rebirth of the Oakland and sports economic development within a Coliseum city that has hotels and an arena, a theater, great restaurants and shops, great places to congregate, outdoor places to watch sports on TV down there. All right. And so he says, I seen your video of your rendering of the Coliseum City. It's a great idea. Thank you, Mr. Fuentes. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas. And thank you very much for your support. Live long and prosper. We'll see you later. Be back tomorrow.